Oh, Al Cooper.
Al Cooper. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But anyway, on
Yeah.
to more prescient things, I guess.
Yeah.
Look, I want to jump right into this because, I mean, granted, have been horror films recently that have, kind of gone against the grain. But I like the fact that you start your movie doing your first real visage of anything in very bright light,
Yeah.
kind of really out there for everybody to see. Was that like purely intentional? Like that's why you wanted to do it, or was it just how things worked out in essence for the story?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good observation. And it was very intentional because it was sort of like the movie is, a horror movie. There's certain conventions and it's as you said, you sort of want to find ways to show your movie in a way that is part of the grain of horror, but is also like you find ways to sort of go against it when you can. And I think I love the idea that you begin in this sort of like high energy, bright light, surrounded by lots of people, an environment when you're not really meant to have any horror happening. And we're getting our first glimpse of our first visitation of a death. We won't necessarily understand it, and neither does our potentially hero character, but then it's going to unfold from there. But that was always appealing to me to sort of, I think what could be more scary than have something terrifying happening in a space surrounded by people, even maybe more than just the usual thing of when you're on your own in a dark bedroom or something.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually going to get back to something you said there because I don't want to give spoilers, but I do want to
Yeah,
dive a little bit more into specificities, I will say, of death.
yeah,
But
yeah,
we'll wait a little bit. Let's not get there too quickly.
yeah, yeah,
Um, the other thing that I also find interesting is that you forgive me because now my brain's I'm on that side. I got to remember I'm moving back this way.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, so I don't like the whole idea of the Aztec Death Whistle, we'll call it, just for
yeah,
general terms. I guess is a true part of history in a lot of ways, and maybe it's somebody's mythology or belief system that existed. But like, it's something that never really kind of came into my consciousness until I heard about this movie. And I'm wondering,
great,
right around when you were premiering this around the Fantastic Fest time,
yeah.
I noticed that my social media was filled with people with like, "Oh, I got a real one," and then blowing into it. Was that an ad campaign from you guys, or just coincidence?
No, totally not. I mean, no, I think that's a maybe, I don't know, maybe it's the algorithm, the whistle, the Aztec Death Whistle algorithm. No, I mean, look, it was also part of that attraction to me when, as a fan of horror and an audience member who goes out to see horror movies and has grown up on them, and as a director making them, there's an eternal quest to find new ideas or new mythologies or new ideas based on an existing mythology. And when I read Owen Egerton's script, I probably was conscious that there was a thing called an Aztec Death Whistle that I've sort of heard mentioned in a Ghostbusters film, for instance.
Mm,
But very quickly, first of all, I was like, well, I've never seen a movie based around this. And I wasn't sure if it was real or not, but after then, going and doing a lot of research, was kind of amazed at how real and ancient it is. And coupled with Owen's mythology of if you hear the sound of this thing, it's going to pull your future death, whatever that might be. It knows what that looks like. It knows when it is, but it's going to happen. It's going to come and visit you in the next couple of days and give you its death. Whereas another like really nice, chunky, solid, delicious kind of idea of a mythology. So yeah, I don't know how you got your
yeah.
algorithm picked up more of it, but yeah,
Well, I'll go to it now though, because you did mention the idea of pulling that death closer. So, because again, clearly you're telling a story and you want to fascinate people and kind of you are making a horror film, so you kind of have to be sensational in a certain sense. So
hmm
these deaths are going to be more out there. Even I won't ruin it, I guess, for people who haven't seen the movie, but even something
yeah,
as a terminal illness is
yeah,
going to be painful when it comes onto you at that point. But was
yeah.
there any part of you that like, Oh, I wonder what this would be like for the person who just happens to die nicely in their sleep one day. What that would
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I mean, we've whilst discussing this kind of thing, when you're making horror, obviously you have a lot of fun, but you also have a lot of conversations of, when you want to you want to iron out your mythology and make it as sort of tangible as possible and connect and you also in relation to, you know, talking about future ideas and things like that. It's like, yeah, there could be a number of different deaths that, or I've started calling them perishments
Mm.
for people that, because ultimately the look of your death in Whistle is very specifically tied to the moment of your death, whatever that might be. And obviously, not everyone's going to be killed in some vicious way, or uh, but for cinema purposes, you probably want, the more elaborate or strange. So. Yeah, it presented a number of conversations of how to render these deaths visually and cinematically, because some of them were a bit more straightforward than others, which were more complicated or more like they posed a lot of questions of like, oh, how is that character going to end up that way?
Now, I have to ask about Machete Cigars. Are you guys friends and that was a call out, or is it more of an homage? You're like, hey, let's talk.
No, we're friends. In fact, when I was making The Nun, I think Andy was just finishing the first It, and
Okay.
we would sort of bump into each other in the Warner Brothers lot. And I've been an admirer of his work. So there's a number of you'll see Easter eggs and you know, less hidden. That's probably the most in your face one, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of call outs to either friends or directors that I admire or um, horror heroines, heroes, and villains in any of the sort of call it branding or titles of shops or fizzy drinks or characters. The entire basketball team had their names of every single one was a there was a Ripley and there was
Yeah.
a
And now
Nance.
I'm just noticing. Now I'm just thinking when you said that, I'm thinking about that close up of the can when she's coming out of the pool later. It's like things that like I noticed, but now I realized I didn't pay enough attention to.
Can you remember what that was?
It was definitely something like I don't remember. It was like Woo's, or I remember just saying like that's a strange name to choose
Yeah,
for a soda, and then but I forgot what it was exactly.
that's a homo. Well, that's a nod to Park Chan-wook.
Well, I just spoke with it
So
recently,
yeah.
actually.
Oh, really? So yeah, there's a lot to find. There's a number that get cut in the edit, but there's a lot of little, you know,
So I
when I
missed the
have
K of it. I misread it.
yeah, yeah.
Well, that also goes into the idea that I imagine it must be lovely to have Nick Frost join you for something like this as well.
Yeah, it was great. I've known Nick for a long time. Right back to when they made Spaced. I've been a long-term friend of Edgar Wright's and had known Nick and Simon and wanted to get Nick in something. It's always you have lists of actors you want to get in movies, and then it's like finding a role that they could work in. So when we had this character of Mr. Craven, this history teacher, felt like, oh, this could be the Nick Frost role. So I was very happy when he came on board. And also, there's a sort of tone in Whistle that we were wanting to balance a certain entertaining sort of roller coaster and have levity within it. It's not a comedy horror, but it's got some fun in it as well. And a character like Mr. Craven, when played by Nick Frost, sort of brings that uh, to his character naturally because he's very funny.
I'm gonna go backwards here because we have to wrap up, and I realized I started going off in tangents further down the line when I planned on. Because you were talking though about your research and the idea of like thinking about what deaths would be like, and then again having to be like cinematic for it.
Yeah.
But in doing so, did you find yourself changing what Owen had originally planned out in his script based on the research that you found, or was it all basically more so the script and then just the specifics of the deaths, or what really changed, or were kind of bought out more?
I think Owen had done a very good job of identifying the different specific deaths that these characters might have. To my memory, they are intact in the movie, but then going into the real specifics and figuring out how to achieve them and with the different kinds of techniques, whether it's practical and prosthetics and animatronics and puppetry and stunts, and then as visual effects taken over, was a lot of choreographing and storyboarding and designing and working with all the different departments to achieve a sort of unified illusion that you couldn't just pin down. Or, I want it, I want always the movie overall to have its sort of visual identity, and that includes like the production design and the sound design as well as the effects that
Mm.
to feel kind of grounded and take you in so that you're kind of scaring you or shocking you, but also slightly fascinating you as well.
Well, Corin, thank you so much for your time. I wish we had more time to discuss,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna go back and rewatch and look for all those extra things I missed
yeah,
because
go
my
on,
brain
take
was
a
not
look.
working at the time.
Yeah, cheers. Nice to meet
Have a
you.
great one. Bye.
Bye.